What's going on, folks? This is Colion Noir, joining you guys for another episode of Seeing Live. So I want to kind of talk about something that's kind of came across my desk earlier today. There was a time in high school where me and a group of friends were walking in a parking lot when a group of white guys in a truck drove by and yelled out, "Get the F out the way, you black monkeys." I was offended, but I kind of laughed to myself also because I find overt racism comical and sad at the same time, because it's always come off to me as an outward expression of internal insecurities from an underdeveloped mind, nothing but a child trapped in a weak man's body kind of thing. However, there was always something infuriating about covert racism, the kind of racism that subtly or not so subtly insinuates I should do, say, and believe certain things simply because I am black. It enrages me because it says that I am nothing more than an incompetent, dependent, inferior version of a human being who can't think for himself. This is the exact form of racism a top Democratic donor by the name of Benjamin Barber said and did during a secret recording during a fundraiser for North Carolina U.S. Senate candidate Deborah Ross. And I quote, "Have you heard of Sonderkommandos?" he says, "Jewish guards who helped murder Jews in the camps. So there were even Jews that were helping the Nazi murder Jews. So blacks who are helping the other side are seriously effed in the head. They're only helping the enemy who will destroy them. Maybe they think if I help them, we'll get along okay. Somehow I'll save my race by working with the murderers," said Barber at a fundraiser for Ross on the Upper West Side of New York City on September 19th, 2006. So joining me to discuss this is my good friend Maj Toure, joining me from Philly. What's going on, Maj?
Hey, what's on, man? How are you?
Besides the obvious, I'm doing good.
Right.
So, I mean, talk to me, man. What are the first thoughts that come to your mind when you hear something like this?
This is the type of, I'm glad it got exposed. This is the type of foolishness that I'm glad. I like my racism nice and exposed. I'll take mine with a side of over easy eggs. Like, it's that, like you said, it's comical and sad at the same time, but it's not something that we didn't know, a lot of people thought.
Yeah.
For some reason we still, in 2016, people think that because you think outside of a box or the predetermined box for you, cookie cutter thing, that somehow you're anti your own hood, and that's the furthest thing from the truth, and it's sad, and like you said, it's comical.
Yeah, there's a weird, the kind of covert racism that I've experienced it before. I've been at tables where I'm surrounded by super liberals and I say that because largely when I experience covert racism, that's generally who I'm around. And, they say things in such a manner as if I'm incapable of doing things on my own, or as if that I have this inability to function in between preconceived notions of what I'm supposed to be. And the funny thing about it is it's rather blatant in many ways, because even though I call it covert, it's really thinly masked. So when I hear stats and stuff about, I shouldn't own a firearm because I'm a young black man, and young black men die at a disproportionate rate to other young black men because they're shooting each other. On the surface, it sounds like, okay, you kind of sort of maybe care about me, but take it 2, 3, 4 layers deep. Really what you're saying is I'm a monster monkey anger man who is incapable of controlling my own emotions, therefore I shouldn't own a firearm because all I'm going to do is see the other monster raging monkey man who looks like me and decide to kill him. That's essentially what they're telling me.
Right, like you have absolutely no control. Never mind the fact that, hey, I got this show called Noir. Never mind the fact that I'm kind of like good at this shooting thing. Never mind the fact that I'm, kind of trained and educated and informed. Your genetics. Don't worry about all of that. Your genetics are telling me that you're just incapable of controlling yourself. So listen to me and tell me exactly which way you should go, which way I should do things and all of that. The funny thing about it is, I think sometimes in my mind, like, do you hear how you sound, or you just running off this script that somebody told you? I want to almost believe that you're a victim of your own type of conditioning. Yeah. I have to believe that. I have to believe that you're not this stupid, especially someone in that high up on the political scheme of things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's this kind of the undertone of my Negro disposition means that I'm going to do this or do that or not do this or not do that. But I've always been one to foster the idea and the concept of independent thought.
Mm-hmm.
I may fall on one side or the other, but I arrive there by way of independent thought. And so I think for them in that regard, what they like to do is they love and they thrive off the idea of groupthink. Groupthink,
Right.
it enables them to, one, completely confuse a lot of people about a myriad of topics and subjects. But largely what it does is it forces people to be completely and utterly dependent on you. And
it boxes you in, so we can dole out what type of freedoms we kind of want to allow you to have.
Yeah.
You know, which is the most un-American thing that I've ever seen in my life. You know, it's no different than saying, you know, there's a push now where if if you have a medical marijuana card, you can't possibly have your license to carry because you can't do two things at once. Like, let us tell you how much. Now, slow down there with all of this freedom that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just amazing to me.
Because they can't control you with freedom. There's no control when there's freedom. And so, and I think largely, they've almost kind of segmented off as the word freedom, talking about freedom in this sense, is something that only the white boys over there can talk about. You're black. Come on over here with us where we give you stuff and make you feel good about yourself while still making you feel like a victim. But we'll caress you in the boob of our democratic nurturing party. And I'm just kind of over that. I've been over it for a while now. And like I said before, I'm not even necessarily saying, everyone needs to just in massive storm head over to the other side. The point I've always made is think for yourself. Understand the things that are advantageous to you and the things that are not. And I'm sorry, when we look at the conditions in a lot of the places where these particular leaders have been leading these places or lack thereof, they've really done. There's really nothing that has been done there in that sense.
Right. And it's the funny thing is when I hear things like that, for the longest time, like me personally, I've been a registered Republican for most of my voting life. Mm-hmm. That does not mean I just vote with that party.
Exactly.
I evaluate things. I evaluate the person. I evaluate all different parties. I see what their track record is on the bills or laws or areas that they've, voted in favor of, and if they're in alignment with what my politic is. And that is actually the democratic process, to be a thinker and evaluate, not just this group think mob mentality that, everybody over there is. I mean, it's almost like y'all totally ignore the statement, like, your parents used to say, well, if everybody else was jumping off a bridge,
you're gonna jump off
would you do it?
Now, I used to be a bit of an a-hole and tell my mom I'll think about it. But
how many of them?
You're right. But no, you're right. They kind of placate to this notion of, you definitely should not think for yourself because it's dangerous for you. You're incapable of it, so don't do it. Because just let me hold your hand and walk you through the valley of the beautiful world that I'm going to create for you, which will allow you to do absolutely nothing. And again, I have to reiterate when you talk about, like, I'm listening, speaking on one of the comments that he made, is like he thinks they think that they're helping when they go to the enemy, that they may be able to save their people. I mean, man, you're talking about a political party that has been vehemently against the idea of me owning a firearm to defend myself.
Right.
I don't see how you could then backdoor and say that I'm engaging in behavior that disadvantages me when you've been doing that very thing for the longest time. I'm sorry. Right. We don't believe you. Like
they treat it like the buffet. I was at Chima a couple of days ago, which is a Brazilian steakhouse. They treat it like the buffet. They totally ignore any fruit, vegetable, anything good for you.
I kind of do that.
Straight to the ice cream, only when it's convenient. And the other thing is, it's interesting when they say these things and they use the word minority a lot, and it's like, legally, that word means you're not even capable of thinking for yourself. Like in the court of law, you have to hire a lawyer, you know what I mean, to speak for you on certain aspects. And I get that. But, we don't need a person or a party, for that matter, to help the hood. We actually have had enough of your help.
Yep.
We'll make these decisions. We actually kind of need people to leave us alone for a bit and allow us to exercise our human rights so we can get this thing together on our own.
Exactly.
So we're not kowtowing to either side.
Yes. I couldn't have put it any better than what you just said, to be honest with you, man. Appreciate you, man. We can do this all day long, and I'm pretty sure I'll have you back on here to talk about a number of different things on top of that. But, man, you take it easy out there, man. Stay safe.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you again, man.
Peace.
All right. And when we come back, joining me is going to be Rob Biankin from Cabot Guns.